just calling to say I...
What is up, everybody? Rage Quitting here, back with another video guide for you guys, and this time we are going to talk about Lightning Sorcerer. I'm here on my Lightning Sword, Charged Particles, and let's just get right into the talents. So, for the talents here in the level 23 row, different ways you can go about it. If you want more AoE damage, we go with Suppressive Current. Chain Lightning applies Suppressive Current to all targets it hits, and then the next Force Storm detonates the current, doing additional damage. The other way, if you want to keep Chain Lightning, instead of getting this new skill here, there's Forbidden Knowledge. Dealing damage with Chain Lightning builds stacks of Forbidden Knowledge, increasing the healing done by Unnatural Preservation and reducing its cooldown. So, if you really like being self-sufficient and being able to keep yourself alive, maybe if you don't play with healers or anything, you like to solo queue, this might be a good talent for that, just to have a lower cooldown of Unnatural Preservation. And if you don't know, Unnatural Preservation is this ability here. It's on a 30-second cooldown and immediately restores an amount of health to you. You can't use it on anybody else. So this is for yourself, your own big, reliable self-heal. If you take this talent here, it'll increase the healing done and reduce its cooldown every time you do a Chain Lightning, which is pretty often. So that can be very nice too. Or if you really like, I use this one sometimes too when I really want to just focus on single targeting. Halted Offensive. This ability replaces Chain Lightning and it deals a lot of damage. It does just as much damage as your other single target big damaging ability, which is Thundering Blast. And Thundering Blast is usually what you use to start your rotation sometimes. So this is a big single target hitting ability. If you take Halted Offensive, you will now have two big hitting single target abilities. Okay, but that's this is up in the air, just the way you want to play it. It depends what map I'm playing on. If I'm playing on a map where I think that there's going to be a lot of AoE to be had, you know, maybe like Ancient Hypergate in the middle room or Void Star on the doors, you know, something like that, then I'll stick with doing a little bit more AoE damage. But if not, if it's a map where you have to rotate around a lot and you really need to focus down targets quickly, I'll take Halted Offensive. Okay, but that's totally up to you and your playstyle. You should definitely try all three and just see which one works for you. I personally don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. It's just a playstyle preference. Okay. So up in the level 27 one though, I think there really is only one to choose, and that's Cloudmind. In PvE, this will lower your threat, but we don't care about that part. All we care about is the 25% damage reduction for 6 seconds. Okay. Sorcerer is very squishy, and if you don't have answers to, you know, people tunneling you because you don't have like damage reduction, then it's gonna not go so well for you. So having this 25% damage reduction for 6 seconds every 45 seconds is very reliable and very strong. Usually I pair it up with a Warzone Adrenal. Warzone Adrenal on a 3-minute cooldown reduces the damage you take by 15% for 15 seconds. So 15% on top of 25% is 40%. So 40% damage reduction for 6 seconds, and then 15% for the remainder of the Warzone Adrenal here. Okay, so in this row we take Cloudmind. Next up here in the 39 row, Thundering Blast immobilizes targets for 2 seconds. This can occur once every 9 seconds. So Thundering Blast is on a 8-second cooldown. Assuming you hold off on casting Thundering Blast for another 1 second, you know, you can make use of this root here that you get from the tree. And excuse me, my Thundering Blast is on an 8-second cooldown, and that is because I have a full Alacrity build here. We're going to go into the gear here in a little bit, but I really prefer having the high Alacrity. So all the pieces that I could choose with Alacrity have Alacrity on them. Reduces the cooldowns of my abilities, and it increases the speed of all my cast times and things like that. So I prefer using the high Alacrity here. But anyway, Thundering Blast having a root on it is really, really strong since, you know, since the new patch they took away Force Slow from sorcerers and sages, so you don't have that extra ability to help you kite. We're gonna just take this passive here so that every 9 seconds when we throw our Thundering Blast out, it will root the target for 2 seconds. Okay, very useful. The other ones here, for a little bit more damage, Thundering Blast causes Affliction to tick twice, and then Thundering Blast causes Chain Lightning to deal 5% more damage. I don't think is as useful as having the utility on a root. It just helps you kite a little bit longer, and better, helps you keep people at a distance so that you can, be a Sorc and pew them from far. Okay, very annoying root to have. I always take the root. Okay, in the level 43 row here, I like to go with Insulating Blast. Thundering Blast grants a stack of Insulating Blast, which increases your damage reduction by 5% for 18 seconds. So, Thundering Blast is on a short cooldown, right? 8-second cooldown. And it's being used pretty much every time it's available. So, this damage reduction for 5% damage reduction for 18 seconds is pretty much on all the time. As long as you're casting Thundering Blast, you have 5% damage reduction. So this is pretty much a passive 5% damage reduction at all times. So I like to take that. Okay. Going up here, Force, Mobility, Thundering Blast, Innervate, Force Leech may be activated while moving. Innervate and Force Leech don't apply to us because that's the other specs that you can play, Healing or Madness. But we use it on the Thundering Blast. So being able to cast Thundering Blast on the move really helps you to maintain that line of sight when you're chasing people down, or if you're trying to cast on them while you're moving into a line of sight, or whatever, right? As long the reason you take this is so that you can cast on the move, okay? So that you can be more mobile and you don't have to sit still and hard cast your Thundering Blast, okay? So level 51 here, we take Force Mobility. Moving up, level 64 row, we take Surging Speed. Reduces the cooldown of Force Speed by 5 seconds and Force Barrier by 30. In addition, Force Speed lasts half a second longer. Polarity Shift increases your movement speed by 100% while active. And the active cooldown of Force Speed is finished when Force Barrier ends. We like every single part of that. The Force Speed reset is really nice too. Let's say I just ran away from somebody here and I'm gonna die. I'm gonna put on my Force Barrier. As soon as I get out of this barrier, I can Force Speed again, okay? Like this. Sometimes if there's a whole bunch of players on me and I pop my Force Barrier, I won't even sit there for the full duration of Force Barrier, because if there's already a lot of people around me, I'm probably gonna die anyway. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just Force Speed as far as I can, barrier for a second, and then just Force Speed again, to get away from the big group that is chasing me. So very useful there too. Moving up here, now this row here, the level 68 row, is really a toss-up. It just really depends on what you want to do with your build. But for me personally, I only choose either between Phase Walk or Volt Rush. Okay, and this kind of depends on what tactical you're using as well. If I go into the gear here, if you're going to use Elemental Convection, which is a tactical that just gives you a lot more passive damage, this kind of changes the way your talent choices will be and your rotation as well. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But if we're going to take Elemental Convection, you have to take Volt Rush here. So Volt Rush is an additional ability that you have. You put it on your bar, and it pretty much replaces Lightning Bolt. I mean, it doesn't actually replace Lightning Bolt, but it'll have a higher priority in the rotation over Lightning Bolt. Okay, so let's say you do your Thundering Blast, Insta-Cast Chain Lightning, and then you do your Lightning Flash and you put your Crushing Darkness dot up on the target. If you hit a Volt Rush, it'll then reset your Chain Lightning, so you can Chain Lightning again, and then you can hit more Volt Rushes, reset Chain Lightnings until Thundering Blast is available, and then do more Chain Lightnings, right? We're going to get into the rotation later, but if we're going to use that tactical here, Elemental Convection, then you have to take Volt Rush in this row here. And if you don't take Volt Rush, but you're using Elemental Convection, then this is a wasted tactical, okay? So if you choose to take Phase Walk, which is the only other ability that I'll ever swap, between, it's either Phase Walk or Volt Rush. If I take Phase Walk, then I'm going to change my tactical so that I don't have a useless tactical here, and I use Aaron's Haste. So Force Speed pretty much makes it so your next Thundering Blast can be activated instantly, and it does, extra damage. Okay, so if we're going to use Aaron's Haste, then we will use Phase Walk, and if we're going to use Elemental Convection, then we are going to take Vault Rush, because you have to. Whirlwind is also a really good talent, actually, but it depends on what type of gameplay you're going to be in. If I'm going to play ranked PvP, especially group ranked, then I'll probably take Whirlwind for that extra instant, crowd control for my team, right? Whirlwind the healer, kill the DPS, or Whirlwind the tank so that he can't guard swap to the other thing that we're going to try and kill, right? In regular war zones, Whirlwind can be useful as well if you're trying to CC somebody so that you can take a node, or cap something from under the enemy team. But the problem with Whirlwind in regular war zones is if you're not playing with other people that know that you're about to Whirlwind something, they're probably just going to hit that target anyway and break your Whirlwind. So your Whirlwind becomes effectively useless, right? So Whirlwind is a very unique, there's a specific time and place to use it, and if you don't use it well, it'll just be ruined by other players and it'll be a wasted talent. So that's why, for me personally, I stick either between Phase Walk or Volt Rush, okay? And then in the level 73 row here, we're going to take Immersion. Immersion, Force Speed, removes all movement impairing effects and grants immunity to them for the duration. I'm so sorry for all the new Sorcerer and Sage players out there that are leveling up one at the moment, because this talent here used to be much lower in the tree and you could use it sooner, but now you can't even use it until level 73, which really sucks, man. Leveling up all the way to 73 before you get Immersion is pretty tough. But once we unlock it here, we really want to be using Immersion. So as soon as you get rooted or slowed, you can just get out of it with Force Speed, right? Pretty much the first global cooldown that I use when I get jumped on by any warrior class, right? Because that leap roots you to the ground. As soon as they leap on me, I just Force Speed and kite them away, right? So they leap for no reason, basically. You can just start Force Speeding while they're still mid-air and they're not even on you yet, and then suddenly they don't have their leap gap closer anymore. So Immersion is very strong here. I mean, you could take the other ones, but I don't. I find way more use in Immersion than the other two. So this is the way I'm having it set up right now, but play around with it how you want, and see what works for you, okay? But this is just what works for me. Alright guys, so for the gear, remember that in PvP, Sorcs and Sages do not need accuracy. The stat accuracy does not do a whole lot for you, so avoid buying pieces that have accuracy on them. The way that I did this was when I went to the PvP vendor, or when I got my weekly box for completing the PvP weekly, make sure that you spec your loot discipline to the healing, right, which is Seer or Corruption, and then open the box, because the healing gear does not have accuracy on it, okay? But also what I did was, if I was missing a specific piece, I would buy like a 320, get like a Noble Decurion's 324 or lower item level or whatever, as long as it's not the PvP one. Let's say if I wanted to specifically target pants or something, if I wanted pants, I would get a 320 or 322 or 324 PvE pants, put those on, and then open the box, and then boom, I just got an Alacrity Force Healer's lower robe, because the loot discipline was spec to healing, right? And what I did personally, I like high Alacrity builds for lightning and for balance. It just makes the whole rotation the speed and your cooldowns and all that. And it even helps with your force regen rate. The more alacrity you have, the faster your force regenerates. So that's always nice there. So the main hand weapon you can't really choose. It has to have crit on it. But that's a good thing. You can't go without any crit. So we have crit here, alacrity here, alacrity, 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 and alacrity on all the gear pieces. For the tactical, or the earpieces, alacrity as well. The relics are power, crit, and the reason we're using the crit one too is because since we're stacking a lot of alacrity in the gear, we are kind of lacking in the crit department, so we're going to use the crit relic. And since crit base stats are lower this time around than last expansion, it's probably better to use the crit relic anyway over the mastery one, since the crit stat is kind of low. For the implants we're using Gathering Storm. Force speed makes your neck direct. Force attack deal 20% more damage, and force attacks deal 20% more damage while polarity shift is active. This really synergizes very well with the Aaron's Haste tactical, but even without it, it's doing something for you. Even without the Aaron's Haste, right? You're still getting 20% here, and then 20% with polarity shift. So this is always a good implant to use. The next one we're using is Unmatched Haste. The duration of polarity shift is increased by 5 seconds, and using force speed reduces the active cooldown of polarity shift by 5 seconds. So it just helps you get that polarity shift back faster so that you can make use of the first implant that we mentioned here, and then also Aaron's Haste if you're using Aaron's Haste. Let's put this on here for a second. And once again, like I said, if you're going to use Aaron's Haste, you should be taking Phase Walk instead of Volt Rush, because Volt Rush doesn't do a whole lot on its own. It does a lot more with that other tactical when you pair it with the other tactical. So we'll use Phase Walk while we have Aaron's Haste. And then so now whenever you use Force Speed, you can Thundering Blast instantly, and Thundering Blast will deal 20% more damage. If you use Polarity Shift and stack the little bonus you get from the Gathering Storm package here, your next Thundering Blast will do a bunch of damage. Okay, so Force Speed makes your next direct force attack deal 20% more damage, and force attacks deal 20% more damage while Polarity Shift is active. So when you're using this paired with Aaron's Haste, you force speed and hit Polarity Shift at the same time, and then you hit a Thundering Blast that hits like a freaking truck. Okay. So that's it for the gear right there. If you're going to use Elemental Convection, take Volt Rush. If you're going to take Aaron's Haste, I would just take Phase Walk instead. And then these are the tacticals we're using. Alright, moving on. Alright guys, now we're going to get into the rotation here. We're going to do 2 separate rotations because we're going to be explaining the 2 different tacticals that we're going to be using. First up, we're going to use the Elemental Convection, which means we're going to be taking Volt Rush. Okay, so the rotation here, typically I like to just start with the Thundering Blast, but you could start with the Chain Lightning first if you have time to hardcast it. It's 2.5 second hardcast. If you have more alacrity, it'll be shorter, but basically Thundering Blast and some Volt Rushes, and then Lightning Bolt also has a chance to reset the cooldown of Chain Lightning and make it instant, right? So if you want, you can start with the hardcast Chain Lightning and then do a Thundering Blast into a second Chain Lightning. Same goes for Halted Offensive if we choose to use, the single target one here. So if you choose Halted Offensive, it just changes your Chain Lightning here. Keep in mind though, Crushing Darkness also puts a debuff on your target for 45 seconds and they take more force damage, blah, blah, blah. You could open with it too, but either way, Crushing Darkness will be in the rotation at some point regardless, so they'll be taking more damage, thereafter. But if you wanted to fully, quote unquote min-max, you should start with the Crushing Darkness, okay? Lightning Flash makes your Crushing Darkness activate faster, so if you wanted to also, you open with the Lightning Flash, then Crushing Darkness if you want to hard cast a Chain Lightning or halt a defensive, and then reset it with the Thundering Blast to do another one instantly. You could do that. Or you can just open with Thundering, you can do that and then do Thundering Blast, halt a defensive. Then we're going to hit Volt Rush to reset halt a defensive. But anyway, I think I'm talking a little bit too much. I'm just going to go ahead and go into the rotation here. There's different ways to do it, but typically how I start is just with the Thundering Blast. Since you can do it on the run, and you want to make sure that you get skills off anyway, like at the beginning of the fight. You just start getting damage out is the most important thing here. For PvP, there is a rotation, right? But for PvP, I think the most important thing is just to keep putting out damage, right? If you're slow and you're wasting time by not pressing buttons, it doesn't matter if you're doing the rotation in the right order or not, because you're wasting time and not pressing a global cooldown every second that you can, right? So just get damage out, most important. But if you want to min-max here, we're going to do it this way. We're going to start with an Affliction because it's a dot that keeps refreshing itself every time you hit a Chain Lightning or a halted offensive. It'll just refresh itself on the target. Every time you switch targets, you can put an Affliction on them. But anyway, Recklessness, Polarity Shift, we're going to use it just to increase our damage on cooldown. You could save Polarity Shift for moments where you need a little bit of extra kiting, because with this talent here, Surging Speed, it'll give you a boost of movement speed, and then also it'll make you immune to pushbacks or interrupts for 20 seconds. So there are specific times to use this, but typically I just use it whenever I want to do more damage because it gives you extra alacrity. All my skills will be casting faster, whatever. But anyway, this is how I do it here. So we're going to start with an Affliction. Then we're going to buff ourselves with the Recklessness, Polarity Shift into a Thundering Blast, into a instant Chain Lightning. I'm actually going to just switch back to Chain Lightning because it's easier to say Chain Lightning than it is to say halted offensive. So we're just going to use Chain Lightning. Alright, Affliction, Recklessness, Polarity Shift, Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash to make our Crushing Darkness cast faster, and then we're going to Volt Rush one time to reset Chain Lightning, and then by that time Thundering Blast might be off cooldown, so we'll do another Thundering Blast into a Chain Lightning, okay? So here we go. Affliction, double buffs, Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash into a hardcast Crushing Darkness, one Volt Rush into another instant Chain Lightning, Thundering Blast is off cooldown, Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Volt Rush, Volt Rush, Volt Rush, Chain Lightning, Thundering Blast, Lightning Flash, Crushing Darkness. Okay, that's pretty much how it goes. Because since you have Volt Rush, you really don't need to be going much further than that into Lightning Bolts and stuff like that. Lightning Bolt does increase your alacrity and give you some passives here, but you also get those let me see if I do a Thundering Blast here. Thundering Blast. Yeah. If you're running low on force and stuff like that, then it is good to spam Lightning Bolts, because then it'll give you a buff to your alacrity and your damage reduction. So just keep that in mind. Lightning Bolt gives you alacrity and damage reduction. Okay. But if you don't need it, you don't have to go in. You don't have to use it. Okay. Let's do that one more time. So Affliction dot. Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, hardcast Crushing Darkness, one Volt Rush, and it should reset your Chain Lightning. You can do your Chain Lightning again. By that time, Thundering Blast is off cooldown, so you just start the rotation all over again. Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, Crushing Darkness, and if everything is on cooldown, then you just spam Volt Rushes until you get resets back, or until you get your Thundering Blast cooldown back, okay? If you are out of Volt Rushes and you have nothing else to hit of your main abilities, then you can, spam Lightning Bolts until things come off cooldown, and then you just kind of repeat them as they go along, okay? Oh yeah, another thing to note is Shock does extra damage if you have a Crushing Darkness on the target. I failed to mention that. So actually we're going to do Affliction, double buffs, Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, Crushing Darkness, Shock. Okay, then we're going to Volt Rush to reset Chain Lightning and then start all over. Alright, so here we go. Affliction, double buffs, Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, Crushing Darkness, Shock, Volt Rush, Instant Chain Lightning, and then Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning again, Volt Rush, Lightning Flash, hard cast the Crushing Darkness. Now Thundering Blast is available, so now you can just start all over with the Thundering Blast, right? Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, hard cast the Crushing Darkness, Volt Rush, Chain Lightning, Thundering Blast is ready again, Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Volt Rush, Volt Rush, Volt Rush. You see, the only reason why I was doing that is because nothing else was available. So if nothing else is available, just keep hitting the Volt Rushes, and then finally it did proc another Chain Lightning, so just go ahead and do that, okay? Yeah, the main abilities to look out for here is just the four main ones: Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, and Crushing Darkness. And then I pretty much only throw a Shock in there after the Crushing Darkness, okay? After that, when these main abilities are on cooldown, you're spamming Volt Rushes so that you can get a chance to refresh your Chain Lightning and make it instant cast. Once you do, you throw it out. And then by that time, Thundering Blast will be available again, so you just start the rotation all over again, okay? If you're going to switch targets, start with an Affliction, so that your Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning will then refresh it and just keep good uptime on it. You don't have to put Affliction on every new target, especially if they're already kind of low. You can just go ahead and hit them with, bigger hitting abilities to just, quickly kill them. But on targets that are full HP, I try to start with an Affliction, because then it'll be on for longer and tick its damage, right? So one last time before we switch tacticals here. Alright, Dot, double buffs, Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, hard cast the Crushing Darkness, Volt Rush, Chain Lightning, Thundering Blast is available again, so we're going to start all over. Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, nothing's available, so we're going to Volt Rush, and then Chain Lightning reset. Okay, now we have Lightning Flash and Crushing Darkness ready, and then right into another Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Volt Rush, Chain Lightning. Nothing's available, so we're going to spam Volt Rush. Lightning Flash is ready, hit Lightning Flash, wait on this Crushing Darkness, and then Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning again. Okay? Very, very simple rotation. You just need to watch for these cooldowns. That's why I have my DPSing abilities on the top row here, so that they're easier to track instead of having to look down here or down here. And they're more on the center of my screen-ish, so they're much easier to track. Okay, the main abilities are here. And that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and switch tacticals here. Alright guys, so we switched tacticals, so that means we're going to switch our ability here. We're going to take Phase Walk instead. You can still use Volt Rush if you want, but I don't know. I feel like it doesn't do as much since it doesn't synergize with the tactical. I could be wrong, but this is just my choice here. So I'd like to take, besides that, I really do like taking Phase Walk, so if I'm not going to take the Volt Rush tactical, I will take Phase Walk, because Phase Walk is very useful. But anyway, Aaron's Haste, right? So now that we're using Aaron's Haste, the thing that you're going to try to do is use Force Speed and Polarity Shift before you use your Thundering Blast, because it'll make it do a whole bunch more damage. Obviously you're not going to have Polarity Shift every single time, because Polarity Shift is on a minute and 30-second cooldown, give or take. But you will have Force Speed for most of them, okay? Every other Thundering Blast, you will have Force Speed available. Force Speed is on a 15-second cooldown, Thundering Blast is on an 8-second cooldown, so every other one, you can use Force Speed to then make your next Thundering Blast deal extra damage. So the rotation is basically the same as with the last tactical, except now that we don't have Volt Rush, we're going to just be spamming Lightning Bolts in its place instead. So let me just go ahead and open this up. So we're going to start the same way, Affliction, double buffs, but this time we're going to add Force Speed with our double buffs, and then go into a Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning. Okay. Right after that, we're going to do the Lightning Flash, Hard Cast, Crushing Darkness, and then we're just going to spam Lightning Bolts until Thundering Blast is available, or until we proc, Chain Lightnings or something like that. So here we go. Dot, double buff, Force Speed, Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, Hard Cast, Crushing Darkness, Lightning Bolt spam, 1, 2. Now we can go straight into Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning. Nothing's available, so we're going to spam Lightning Bolt instead. Okay, until things are ready, and now they are. So Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, Crushing Darkness. On this next, on the next Thundering Blast, we have Force Speed, so let's use Force Speed to make Thundering Blast instant and do more damage, and then Chain Lightning. And since nothing's available, we're going to spam Lightning Bolt until we can Lightning Flash, Hard Cast, Crushing Darkness into another Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning. Okay, and then Lightning Bolts until things are ready to go again. Okay, and this time we have Force Speed, so we're going to Force Speed into the Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, Crushing Darkness, and then spam Lightning Bolts more. Okay, I think you guys get the idea. Oh yeah, also I'm sorry, I totally forgot to throw the shocks in there after the Crushing Darknesses, so that's my bad. Don't forget to do that. Okay, we're going to do Polarity Shift, Force Speed, Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, Crushing Darkness, Shock, and then go into the Lightning Bolts. Okay, and that just procced another instant cast Chain Lightning, so we're going to use that. Recklessness is coming off cooldown, Force Speed is coming off cooldown, so we're going to use both before we do our Thundering Blast. Boom, into a Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, Hard Cast, Crushing Darkness, into a Shock, and everything's ready again. So Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning. Okay, nothing is available right now, so we're going to spam those Lightning Bolts until things are ready to go. Force Speed is ready, Thundering Blast is ready, Force Speed, Thundering Blast, Chain Lightning, Lightning Flash, Crushing Darkness into a Shock. Okay, and then right back into Lightning Bolt, Thundering Blast. I think you guys get the idea. Alright, just get on the dummy here and practice. Best thing you can do, right, before you go into a war zone. Use the war zone training dummy, practice your rotation, keep yourself fresh, so that when you get into the war zone, you're all warmed up and ready to spam your abilities. Alright, alright guys, so for some additional tips for PvP, make sure you're using your utility. Okay, I mean, you have 3 different types of heals. One is only for yourself with a natural preservation. Since we're taking this talent here, Cloud Mine, you have damage reduction on a 45-second cooldown. You can pair it with a Warzone Adrenal for some extra damage reduction in the moment. You have your pull. You can pull a friendly target away from danger. Resurgence is a insta-cast, small heal over time that you can put on yourself or other players. And then obviously you have your Dark Heal when you need to spam healing on yourself. Just be careful not to do this too much, because you can see it reduces your force by a whole lot. But if you're able to get back on target here, let's put myself in combat with low force here. You can use your Lightning Bolts, which will then increase your alacrity rate, and then you'll get some force back faster. Obviously it uses force to use the ability, but when you have higher alacrity, your regen rate is a little bit better. You also have this ability here called Consuming Darkness, which I don't find myself having to use it all that much, so I don't have it on my bar. But if you wanted to, what it does is it gives you force back. If you spam the ability, you get force back like this, but at a cost. It will put a debuff on you, which will make your regen rate slower. Mostly this ability is used for the healing spec of Sort, because it does some better things there. But anyway, you can use that if you need to. Bubble, Phase Walk. You can get very creative with Phase Walk. I'll try and find the clip here where I did yesterday on my stream. Like, oh my god, I live. phase walk. I live.
Oh, you Facebook?
No, I'm going. Ah.
I'm going to there.
Oh, I was thinking I was tanking 4 of them.
And then I phase back up, and then I run. Use your utility. Use your pushes. This push here, AoE push, you can push people off ledges. You can root them. It's part of your kit when you're kiting. You know, if you don't have force speed and things are on you, you push them away. And then you create that gap there. Okay. Also, if you're going to be using force speed with Aaron's haste, I would suggest don't just use force speed to stay exactly where you're at, you know, just for the sake of damage with your Thundering Blast. I mean, you should be using it for your Thundering Blast, but what I'm saying is use it to reposition, okay, as you're doing damage. Always keep yourself in good positions. Use line of sight, okay? Line of sight is very important. I'll try find another clip from the stream, but I
Alright, this one.
Where'd he go? Oh. Was 1v1ing a mercenary and using line of sight to my advantage. You know, I would come over here, hit him, go back behind the line, and every time I had a global cooldown ready, I would go back in here, hit him with something, go back behind the line of sight, come back out, hit him, you know, and just make it very annoying for other players. Use the line of sight to your advantage so that you can get damage in and they can't get damage out, okay? But that's pretty much going to do it for the guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys on another one. Oh, by the way, I'm starting to stream on YouTube during the weekends mostly, but catch me on my stream. Make sure you sub to the channel and click on notifications so that you can be informed of whenever I go live, and I will see you guys over there, alright? Take it easy. Peace.
I'm just calling to say I